Keanu Reeves' uncredited Severance Season 2 cameo is my favorite example yet of how psychological and brilliant this show is. When you buy through links on our articles, Future and its syndication partners may earn a commission. With its long-awaited Season 2 premiere, Severance put viewers right back into the secret-filled Lumen building, with Adam Scott's Mark running maniacally through its endless hallways for the opening scene. The episode delivers several other instantly memorable sequences to theorize about, including the introduction and apparent dismissal of a new cubicle crew, but I was particularly obsessed with Lumen's stop-motion video chronicling the Microdat uprising. And that was before I learned the animated administrative building was voiced by Keanu Reeves. After the initial instinct to smack myself for not immediately recognizing his dulcet tones, despite any obvious attempts to hide it, I quickly shifted to reflecting on just how brilliant a move it was to bring the Bill and Ted star in to portray a seemingly playful and informative mascot whose carefully selected words aren't necessarily the most honest and beneficial for the MDR team. So let's dive into all of it after rewatching the scene below. With limited exceptions such as The Gift, Evil Ted, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3's anti-hero Shadow, Keanu Reeves is very often cast in protagonist roles that viewers are happy to believe in and root for. From Speed's Jack Traven to Point Break's Johnny Utah to the franchise-leading John Wick, to say nothing of Toy Story 4's Duke Kaboom, Reeves' most iconic characters also exude coolness and badassery, making it even easier to take their sides. So who better to relay Lumen's placating message to Adam Scott's Mark, Britt Lower's Helly, Zach Cherry's Dylan and John Turturro's Irving? Whether or not one is aware of the actor's involvement, the Lumen administrative building is still inarguably calming and reassuring the entire time, even while stating facts that viewers already know are false. You sorta want to believe in all of it, because why would such a soothing voice be saying it otherwise? I can imagine similar feelings arising if Morgan Freeman, Daniel Craig, or Denzel Washington were cast. Maybe they'll show up to vocalize Lumen videos in the future. Having brought up other actors whose on-screen roles connote similar trustworthy traits, it's worth noting that Keanu Reeves wasn't necessarily the first and only choice that creator Dan Erickson had in mind to give a Cliff's Notes version of Season 1's events. He didn't name-check any of the other actors that were contacted, but did talk to Collider about the thought process behind casting this animated building, saying, Erickson brings up a point here that is key to Keanu Reeves being such a perfect choice. The building itself is actually nice and helpful to an extent, as opposed to harboring the nefarious motivations of the Lumen employees who created it. Granted, I think Reeves could portray a real-life Lumen board member, and I'd still buy into everything he says even knowing his character is implicitly evil in some way. In the annals of cinema and TV history, few projects and actors represent the concept's workplace profundity and duality of self like Keanu Reeves and The Matrix. Are those movies about mild-mannered Thomas Anderson as an initially clueless innie, as it were, or are they about the all-knowing Neo who has the ability to affect both versions of reality? Obviously the Wachowskis' seminal 1999 film and its sequels, including the equally uneven Matrix Resurrections, aren't perfectly analogous when set alongside the mysterious and important journey these characters are embarking on. Their paths do cross in certain respects. Particularly when it comes to the idea of Mark taking Petey's advice and combining his memories through reintegration. If the severed floors vending machines now provided red pills and blue pills among such debuting offerings as cut beans and salsa, that might have seemed a bit too on the nose. But having Keanu Reeves handle the damage control for MDR gets the same undertones across in a far more clandestine manner. And one that is truly non-heinous. I can't imagine Bill and Ted's Alex Winter will show up next, but we do know that Game of Thrones vet Gwendolyn Christie will arrive soon to shine more light on the GOAT mysteries. Be sure to stay current with new episodes hitting Apple TV Plus every Friday. Severance is back at work, and so are our brains, trying to untangle all the mysteries that Friday's Season 2 premiere threw at us. Apple TV Plus' sci-fi thriller returned in fine form, with Mark first getting to know a new set of Lumen colleagues before being reunited with his friends and contemplating an offer to leave Lumen for good. Read our full premiere recap here. The premiere answered some of the questions we had coming into Season 2, like what kind of repercussions Mark and company would face for their overtime contingency rebellion last season. But it also gave us a whole new set of questions to consider, and that we're sure will be puzzling over all season long. Since we're obsessed and we're going to be thinking about Severance until a new episode airs this Friday anyway, we thought we'd use our time efficiently, praise Keir, and pull together the 5 biggest questions we have after the season 2 premiere, including a little fib from Helly, and a seemingly big clue at the very end. Read on to see what we're still trying to figure out about our Lumen pals, and then join us in the comments below to share your own questions, or your answers to ours, if you have any. When Mark returned to the Lumen office at the start of the premiere, the first thing he did was sprint, down an endless series of corridors, to the building's wellness center, where Miss Casey, aka his not-really-dead wife Gemma, works. But Mark arrived to find the wellness center completely cleared out, and Miss Casey was nowhere to be found. Did Lumen get rid of her? Or are they just hiding her from Mark, now that he knows their secret? And side note, who was that creepy figure looming over Mark's shoulder watching him? It didn't look like Mr. Milchick, did it? When Mark got back to his workstation, he was faced with 3 new members of the macrodata refining team, Gwendolyn, Alia Shokot, Dario, Stefano Carinanti, and Mark W., Bob Balaban. We were as puzzled as Mark was, and we never got a clear explanation of where they came from, although Mark W. alluded to having worked at another Lumen branch that shut down. We know they're severed, too, because Gwendolyn peppered Mark with questions about the outside world. How's wind? Is it just like getting breathed on, kind of? Then when Mark demanded his old team back, Lumen obliged and brought back Helly, Irving and Dylan, much to Mark's relief. But where did the 3 newbies go? And will we ever see them again? It'd be a shame if we didn't. We were just starting to like Mark W. Yes, we understand that she's a child because of when she was born. Good question, though, Mark W. But what is a child doing serving as the new deputy manager of Lumen's severed floor? Ms. Huang, played by new series regular Sarah Bach, is incredibly precocious for her age, but it still seems like an awfully odd fit. Is she a Lumen prodigy? Or does she have some connection to our heroes? Some fans are even theorizing she could be Mark and Gemma's daughter. Keanu Reeves' uncredited Severance Season 2 cameo is my favorite example yet of how psychological and brilliant this show is. When you buy through links on our articles, Future and its syndication partners may earn a commission. With its long-awaited Season 2 premiere, Severance put viewers right back into the secret-filled Lumen building, with Adam Scott's Mark running maniacally through its endless hallways for the opening scene. The episode delivers several other instantly memorable sequences to theorize about, including the introduction and apparent dismissal of a new cubicle crew, but I was particularly obsessed with Lumen's stop-motion video chronicling the Microdat uprising. And that was before I learned the animated administrative building was voiced by Keanu Reeves. After the initial instinct to smack myself for not immediately recognizing his dulcet tones, despite any obvious attempts to hide it, I quickly shifted to reflecting on just how brilliant a move it was to bring the Bill and Ted star in to portray a seemingly playful and informative mascot whose carefully selected words aren't necessarily the most honest and beneficial for the MDR team. So let's dive into all of it after rewatching the scene below. With limited exceptions such as the gift, Evil Ted, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3's anti-hero Shadow, Keanu Reeves is very often cast in protagonist roles that viewers are happy to believe in and root for. From Speed's Jack Traven to Point Break's